You've got a lot of experience with dealing with underachieving Jays team, like a lot. But did you expect to have to be going through it this year, this early, like this?
Yeah, I don't know if I've got a lot of experience dealing with underachieving Jays teams so much as just dealing with mediocre to poor Jays teams over the years. But no, I certainly did not expect this to be one of the worst hitting teams in Major League Baseball this season. I mean, we know when they doubled down on pitching and defense over the offseason without really addressing the offensive needs, I thought they would struggle to score runs, but certainly not to this extent. I mean, this has been beyond, as much as the cynics will say, well, I knew this was coming. Nobody knew this was coming. No, nobody could have imagined that the Blue Jays would be a bottom 5 offense in the major leagues this season. And it's I would say it's mystifying, but I mean, you just look right at it. Bo Bichette, George Springer, Justin Turner, the 3 of them have been terrible this season, with the exception of a couple of weeks for Bichette and 3 weeks in April for Turner. And, those are 3 main cogs of this offense, and it's just not working right now.
Well, I got to ask you this, and by the way, you'll be proud of me. I'm spending the summer broadcasting in the Western Canadian Baseball League. I've never done baseball before. The Miller Express. I love the kids. I'm learning the game. I've just been a football and hockey guy my whole life. But what I don't know, and I'm going to ask you and these guys that are training here today, we're home tonight to Saskatoon. Is hitting a mental thing, a physical thing? I'm guessing it's mental. I mean, who's putting their finger on why this is the way that it is?
I mean, it's a little bit of everything, right? It's the hardest thing to do in professional sports, period. And I think we sort of become like immune to just how difficult it is by seeing these people who are consistently able to square up 97, 98 mile an hour fastballs. And, but there's nothing more difficult in sports than hitting. At all. It doesn't matter how, trying harder doesn't make you better at it. Being big and huge and strong doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be good. I think that there have been studies that show that it's actually impossible to make that decision, whether to swing or not, in the amount of time that hitters have to make that decision. Like, it's supposedly physically impossible to do it, to have your brain work that quickly, and yet they make it look so easy. But it's incredibly difficult. And when when there's anything off with you, it becomes close to impossible. And when you start to get older and you start to lose your reflexes, it becomes even more difficult. And so, yeah, it's exceptionally hard. And I think the thing, when you're watching these Blue Jays, a lot of times you just think, well, why isn't it so hard for the other guys? But it's just a really difficult thing to do. And I give them a lot of grace. They're not robots. You can't just program your projections in and say, okay, this guy's going to have a 124 WRC plus because of this, and this. It doesn't work that way. They're people.
Yeah, well, and I think it's like anything like life. Sports are like life. I don't care what the sport is. You need to be comfortable. You need to be confident. And I think you do need to be happy, but that was the criticism of the Blue Jays before, the dancing in the dugout. Let's get serious, guys. And I think they are, right? I mean, I'm sure there's nobody more upset than them right now, the player.
Oh, I don't think there's any question about that. I think Bo Bichette is beside himself trying to figure out what's going on and why his numbers are where they are. And it looked like he was coming out of it a couple of weeks ago, but then he had like an 0 for 16. Didn't get a hit all weekend against Pittsburgh. I'm sure Justin Turner is, I see him taking extra hitting every day. And trying to get back to who he knows he was in April. I mean, it's not like a switch just flips when you turn 39 or whatever, and all of a sudden you become terrible. And I'm sure George Springer is doing the same. And Springer is sort of been on a downward trajectory for the last little while, and that's kind of more how it happens than just being great for a month and then being awful for a month. So it I don't think this is what George Springer is now. I don't think he's a 205 hitter with 12 home run power, but I don't think he's the star that he was a couple of years ago. But there's no reason he can't be an average major league hitter and help a team hitting 6th or 7th in the lineup. But yeah, these guys are upset, and they're, I'm sure, befuddled a little bit as to why what's happening is happening, why they can't do the things that they're used to doing, or why they're not doing the things that they're used to doing. But they're very definitely working hard on it. Is that going to be enough? I mean, it should be for Bichette, and we should see some major improvements, I would think, from Turner. But I don't know if that's going to be enough without an injection of something onto this team to help fire them up. Maybe kind of the way Davis Schneider did last year.
Well, last one here for you. If they do not turn it around, this ain't men's beer league. It's pro baseball. It's a business. How long do you give it? Because if the players don't turn it around, somebody's got to pay. So whether it's a Mattingly or a Walker, or I wouldn't hope John Schneider's not in trouble, but like, how long do you give it before that's the trigger you pull?
I don't know that does anything. I memean, I certainly wouldn't change up Pete Walker. He's been the pitching coach here for more than a decade, and he's presided over some great pitching staffs. And it's certainly not, Kevin Gausman was a Cy Young candidate last year, and he's got a 4.80 or whatever it is now, 4.50 ERA. That's not Pete Walker's fault. I don't know that making changes like that actually does anything other than for the front office to show, hey, look, we're doing something to satiate a bloodlust of the fans. I think that it's the players and it's the roster, and you got to figure some things out. Are you too middle infield heavy, or is Davis Schneider going to be your everyday left fielder now? And if so, what does that mean? Does that mean that Ernie Clement and Kevin Biggio are still going to be run out there when they're clearly struggling? Have you given Clement the shot, and it's time to maybe take a look at a Spencer Horwitz instead if you're going to use Vlad at third every once in a while? Is that the kind of thing that makes sense? I mean, there's no big splash trade to be made right now, and there's no point in giving up on a team when you've got 6 weeks before you actually have to start making those sort of trade deadline decisions. There's nothing wrong with trying to let them come out of it, but you try to help them out a little bit. And, you have Horwitz, who's killing it in AAA. You have Nathan Lucas, who's killing it in AAA. Do you bring Lucas up and put Springer on the bench for a little bit? I mean, I don't think you do that, but I would like to see Horwitz up here. I would like to see Vlad at third on a more regular basis, as long as he can handle it, and see if that injects a little bit of a spark into the offense. I mean, that's the first thing I would try.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. Orioles tonight. Mike, I appreciate the insight more than anything. I love just listening to you.